Rick, the critic, when she come into your place, yo, you best not forget it. She gon' tell you how it is, cause she's Rick, the critic, when she all up in your city, yo, you best not forget it. Let you know if she like it, and if she get with it, let the whole world know and be the first to admit it. Let you know if it's good and if she dig it, cause she's Rick, the critic, Rick, the critic, Rick, the critic, Rick, the critic, she the first to admit it if she can't dig it, cause she's Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick the Critic, and welcome. Today, my guest is Askia Mahukil. Say it for me again.
Muwakil.
Muwakil. I get it, Muwakil. And today we're going to be talking about why people think the way they think, and we're going to go back in history, and we're going to have a good time, and it's going to be enlightening, it's going to be empowering, it's going to be a show that you will never forget. Askia, welcome.
Thank you.
I am so glad that you're here.
And I'm so glad you invited me.
We have talked about some things in the past. Listen, when we talk, I want to talk about our journey here. I want to talk about how we came here and why things are the way they are. We're seeing more and more dysfunction, in relationships. We're seeing it with our children. We're seeing it, in all different aspects. And I want to talk about why those things, why we do the things we do and what happened when we came over here on the ship. And just enlighten us, please.
I think that one thing that we have to look at with African Americans is a very unique situation. And it's never, that condition was so horrific. It's never happened in the history of mankind before. Now, in the history of mankind, you have always had countries that conquered other countries and, kept in captivity the people from that particular region until there was a rebellion and they fought themselves off and they gained their independence. So this is naturally a occurrence that have happened through mankind. African Americans are completely different in the sense of you basically went for stealing children, because if you have to understand that it had to deal with productivity, and it had to deal with value. It had nothing to do with I'm conquering you for a particular reason. I'm going to take your mineral resources and then I'm going to leave. Well, what you did, you stole children, and they were a commodity. At a commodity, they had a price, and anytime that you're selling a product, you want the product that could have the longest time value. And this allows, you went for a youth market. You wouldn't steal anybody 35, 40 years old. Why? Because of the fact that you couldn't sell them at a high price at the auction block. So you went after 11 and 12 and 13, 14. This was prime property. This was a prime economy.
Yeah.
But I think that one thing that we don't think about in terms of that, the psychological impact that plays on a child. I have grandchildren, 13, 12, and 11. I couldn't imagine having a 12 or 13-year-old being accustomed to her family, her mother, the village where she comes from, the village or the community that she comes from, and all of a sudden being snatched and not knowing why. First of all, where's my mother? Where's my father? Where's my grandparents? Where's everything that I know? So, when I think in terms of the psychological impact, it's something that we really have to look at.
So now what you're saying is that when our ancestors came over, they were children, so they had some adults, because we're always under the notion that, it was all these adults on the slave ship and they were crammed up together and all that. We never think about the children that came.
No.
We always think adults. We never think about children. But that makes sense, because it would be easier to control.
Well, it's easier to control. The military doesn't go after 35, 40-year-old people to recruit them into the military.
Yes.
Why? Because you have a better soldier at 18 years old, 16,
Yeah.
18, 21 years old than you would at 35, 40 years old.
Yeah.
It's a better product.
Yeah.
A newer product, a younger product is a better product. And that's with anything. If you have an animal, you would rather a younger animal than compared to an older animal. And I'm just saying in terms of not equating this with animals. What I'm saying, when you're talking about a merchandise, you look at your merchandise in a certain area.
Yes.
So this thing, we have to look at, it impacted us in a completely different way. Because, first of all, I always think about the mindset. I tell people and viewers to put themselves in that condition as a child. The average African, now I don't say slave, because see, slavery was the condition. African people were put in a slave condition.
Yes.
The average length of the chains were 18 inches. 18 inches from each other. Now, another thing that we have to take in consideration is the child, the condition the child was in, the child not understanding who and why they were put in this position, not knowing the language that their persecutor were putting, they couldn't really communicate. They were put on a ship with hundreds of other children that were crying and mourning. Can you imagine being in an environment, because that ship ride took from 3 to 6 months. Can you imagine for 3 to 6 months not hearing laughter, not feeling laughter, no joy and fear? Can you imagine, it's one thing to go to Carnival Cruise Line and they say, well, we're going to take you on a cruise. It's another thing going on Carnival Cruise Line, say, we're going to take you on a cruise, but we're not going to tell you when we're coming back to port. The anxiety that would develop.
Yes.
If the slave master's plantation, after a 3 to 6 month ride, not knowing, it's like going to jail. Just say, I'm going to send you to jail, I ain't going to tell you when you're going to get out. Your mind can't adjust. Mental breakdown. The master's plantation was 1 square mile, 500 acres or so. That's all you saw the rest of your life was 1 square mile. If the master wanted the woman, he could just take the woman, beat the man in front of the woman, because showing that he's not her natural protector. See, when we think in terms of this condition, it wasn't that long. We say that was 200 years ago. Look, I'm in my mid-50s. I'm 3rd generation out of slavery.
Yeah.
My great-grandma Winnie said she was going to the next village with the medicine bag. She said she was captured. She said she went through her womanhood on the ship. She was bought by a German named Henry Kennebrew. His son name was Jacob and his grandson name was Edwin. She said she was shelling the peas in the barn, and Edwin came on the bale of cotton and threw on the bale of cotton and raped her. She had a baby. The baby's name was Phil. The master didn't accept Phil or reject Phil, but he let Phil come in the big house. Phil messed with Sarah seamstress, Rena Mills a cook, and 12 other women. He had 49 children. My grandfather Julius was one of 49 children.
Ooh, that's a lot of children.
But my grandfather Julius was 1st generation out of slavery.
Yeah.
My mother's 2nd, which is 93. I'm 3rd. So any subconscious issues that might have impacted them 2 generations ago, I'm still trying to go through my own memory and all this dysfunction that I might have inside myself, trying to heal myself from that condition. But we love to say 200 years ago, but it's not that long ago.
You're absolutely right, because we were born in the 50s, and so they were still drinking out of fountains. And I mean, we didn't get that here, but we are 1st generation of not having to drink out of
if we're in the 50s, the Civil
know.
War was over in 1865. That's 95 years later. Look how many generations, how close those generations, only 2 generations before that condition took place. So that condition still impacts us in so many different ways.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to act like it's a normal situation. No, it's still, we have to look at subconsciously how those patterns have developed on how we treated our families. It's hard to love someone when you know someone could be stolen or someone could be sold at any particular time. It's hard to love someone when your woman is being raped in the barn and coming back, and when the baby is born, you don't know if it's your baby, the master's baby, or someone else's baby. So this contact of love that we have, this disparity between African-American men and African-American women, a lot of this resentment and animosity that we have, it's coming from a condition that we haven't really come to grips with because we think we're okay. We're not okay. The condition wasn't okay. And we're really going to have to spend some time and even having society come in and having our children become clinical psychologists and therapists to kind of help us, assist us
Yes.
and trying to heal ourselves of all these dysfunctional things that we're doing. But we got to stop acting like we're normal.
Okay,
We're
yeah.
not-
And even when you think of the Holocaust, they had the whole family there. So we are the only ones that have been just stripped away from everything. Even in the Holocaust, even with the Russian slave, all of that, everybody was together. The mother and the father, and then once they got where they were going, there might have been a separation. But they all came in it together, and they were all still in one place. They were not taken
What
away.
the grandparent can teach the grandchild the culture. You know, so if you found that during the Holocaust, you could still have Jewish grandparent teaching the young Jewish child still the culture. We weren't taught the culture. When growing up, we hated the word African, period. We hated that word. Colored, Negro, we'd have been everything. So the word being African was a very negative word. We watched Tarzan, we saw people, you know, we see this view of ourselves. We never could accept the wide nose, the big lips. We have a whole lot of conditioning. You know, one of our biggest products in the world is wearing somebody else's hair. You know, we spend billions of dollars wearing someone else's hair, concept of beauty, and our natural hair is not even considered valuable. So, you know, we can't say, well, it's just one of those things. No, it ain't. It's some psychological things that we have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And until you're willing to look at those particular things, then we can truly heal ourselves. And because of that, we have developed certain social economic groups in our community. You know, we have social mindsets that are completely different, but we say, you know, black and male free relationships is just black, male, female. Well, we got social conditioning. So tribes have developed from that. And we have to be able to explore it in every aspect of our being. And it's not turning around to hate someone. See, the thing is that we say, I'm supposed to hate other people. No, you're not supposed to hate. You're supposed to understand the conditioning.
Yes.
But you have to stop working on a simulation, but learn to be rooted in yourself and have branches that reach out to someone else. But just to assimilate, to be like someone else, and not accepting you for who you are, and growing strong roots in your culture, in your identity, but grow to be a tree that reaches out to other people of other nationalities and other cultures and appreciate them for who they are too. But America has to come to grips that we cannot keep on telling the lie. Tell the truth.
Yes.
And learn that how this impacts us in developing a really serious discussion and putting programs into the society that really deals with this. You see?
Hold that thought. We're going to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, I want to talk some more about why, you know what I'm saying, because that has a lot to do why we have so many different type of relationships. Be right back. Get your water. Come back. You don't want to miss it.
Plastic ones last longer.
Pork bellies close steady due to speculation that demand for bacon-related products.
Read me this one, Daddy.
Okay, honey. The less art kids get, the more it shows. Are yours getting enough? Art. Ask for more. AmericansForTheArts.org.
Things can get pretty ugly when you're bored. In an after-school program, you can find something way better to do.
Passing gas in the presence of others is not only inappropriate,
That is so foul.
it can be deadly. Passing gas releases a fog of carbon monoxide
Grandpa,
and other poisonous fumes that can contribute to asthma and pneumonia.
you're killing us over here.
Kids shouldn't be exposed to secondhand smoke. Don't pass gas. Take it outside.
Mom?
Dad?
How long should I wait for you? Mom?
If I'm at soccer practice.
What if something happens? Will you come get me?